He's just a swag guy. He also has great energy, and it's just fun to be around. So I've enjoyed his staying here, and I'm enjoying him being here for a long time.
Jameis Winston, not talking about Roy Cummings, talking about his brand new football coach, Bruce Arians. A chat with Peter King. King gets better access than almost anybody. He recently made a stop to Buccaneer land for training camp. We're going to get some of Jameis's thoughts on baseball and, of course, how he's going to improve. Welcome to A Few Extra Bucks. I am Mike Nabors. I'm going to bring in Justin Thomas, our producer, first. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Excited for football to start.
Exactly. The Buccos start on Friday at Pittsburgh against the Steelers in preseason game number 1. Let's bring in my partner, Roy Cummings. And Roy, you've been at a lot of practices. Your initial thoughts of this Bucs team after first couple of weeks of training camp?
Well, some things are impressing me. What's impressing me is the fact that the defense really seems to be humming, man. And by humming, I don't mean like midseason form. I don't want to say that. But what I like about it is there's a lot of athleticism on that defense. I don't know if it's going to be any good when the games start, but there's some athletes out there, guys, and they look like they can probably get the job done. I'm impressed by that. I'm impressed by the 2 kickers. There's a real competition going on there. And just as we kind of hinted last week in our podcast, I'm impressed with one Ronald Jones, the running back, who is proving in this training camp, unlike last year, he's proven this year that really all he needs is a little bit of a sliver and some open space, and he can make you pay. So I've seen some things that really excite me. I haven't seen too much that disappoints me. I guess on that end, the play of the offensive line's been a little bit off. Jameis Winston, I think, has looked good for the most part. So, I think they're making some progress. I tend to sometimes think to myself, has this team got a chance to surprise some people and do a little bit more than what they're expected to? I don't know if I go that far just yet, but there's a lot to like there in terms of what I'm seeing at the camp workout.
I think one thing we can all agree on is the first preseason game, the second, the third, even the fourth. You go way higher, way low if you're a fan, especially with social media. Jameis Winston lights it up against the Steelers if he even plays that much. People are going to go crazy. If he throws a pick, it's the end of the world. I mean, that's kind of where we are as football fans, and that's what we see a lot from the fans at this point in the preseason, and really the entire preseason, especially for a football team like the Bucs, Roy, where there's so many question marks with the new coach, offensively, defensively. I mean, really every segment of this team, there are question marks. You're going to see a lot of overreaction when they hit the field against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you are. That's kind of the way it goes. And, if they somehow go out and, score 10 points against the Steelers with the first team offense and hold the Steelers, down maybe to a field goal over the course of the first half, everybody's going to think, hey, here we go. Let's all get excited. And if it's the other way around, they don't do anything, everybody will knock them and say that, same old Bucs, and then everybody will be disappointed. So, but you just can't at the Tribune back in the day, for every training camp, every preseason game, we used to have kind of a little primer for it, and the first thing it always said was, don't pay attention to the score, because here are the things you really need to be looking out for. And we would write, I'd write up 5 areas that you really wanted to watch. Sometimes it was a player, sometimes it was a specific position group. Things like that, things to focus on outside the score, because the score doesn't matter. Now, sometimes it does with a team like the Bucs. Having just said it doesn't matter, it can with the Bucs at times because you're trying to develop a culture of winning. But at the end of the day, the score really doesn't matter, because the score is usually dictated by third-team players playing in the fourth quarter. So how it ends up doesn't matter. Even how much the first team scores doesn't matter. You just want to see execution, and that's really what fans should be focusing on.
We released our first video wrap of actually our second. We're going to do this every week during training camp. We may do it more than once, but at least once. We're going to give you an exclusive interview, and Roy and I are going to break down training camp so far. Last week it was Ronald Jones. He gave us some great stuff. And this week we just released it Vita Vea. We talked to him about a number of topics as well. We'll get to that in just a second. But I want to get back to Jameis Winston. Speaking of overreaction, you and I were at the first training camp practice together, Roy, and Winston looked awful. I mean, people were saying, is this the worst practice Jameis Winston's ever had? And he's had some better practices since then. Bruce Arians has been critical. I think like Dirk Cutter was, but you see it in kind of a different way. How do you see the Arians' approach to Jameis Winston so far? I know it's early.
I think he's been tough when he has to be, and he sees a mistake, and I think he calls Jameis out for it and says, "Look, that's what you can't do. That's exactly what's killing us." That kind of thing right there. But then he sees things that he likes. Red zone drills where he has it down. He had a deep ball the other day to Mike Evans. Mike Evans broke away from two defenders, and Jameis dropped it in the bucket. It was absolutely beautiful. And Jameis had a tremendous red zone drill, threw 2 touchdown passes and handed off a touchdown carry to Ronald Jones, believe it or not. And, so there are times when he looks really good. I would say this, over the course of the first, week and couple of days now of training camp, I think that Jameis Winston has more often looked good than he has bad. You're right. That first workout, he was awful. As awful. I mean, that was not a good sign. But he's gotten a lot better since. He's looked a little bit more like the Jameis Winston that we expect to see, and a guy who's starting to figure some things out. So I like what I see.
The news of the week so far, Lavonte David banged up. Looks like he is going to be okay for the regular season, but what do you make of this news, man? Jason Light must be thinking to himself, what have I done wrong? I mean, I get Jason Pierre-Paul in here. Then he has the car accident in the offseason. They got to kind of revamp things, obviously, with the defensive line, and now they bring in, Devin White, and then they have Lavonte David go down. I mean, it just seems like this Bucs defense can't win at a lot of levels.
Yeah, you're right. That's a real blow because let's face it, that's the real experienced guy in that linebacker group, and you need him, kind of a running mate there with the new kid Devin White, and they've looked really good. Like I said, that defense has really been humming in camp workout. So this is a bit of a blow. The thing that I don't know that I necessarily buy the Bucs claim that he's going to be fine for opening day. Opening day is 5 weeks away.
Yeah.
It usually takes about 4 to 6, maybe sometimes 6 to 8 weeks to overcome a meniscus tear if it requires some kind of a surgical procedure, and this one did. So I think that's a little optimistic myself, and that's not good news. So look, I don't know obviously the true extent of the injury. No one does except the Buccaneers and Lavonte David and his camp, but at the end of the day, I think it's just a little bit aggressive here to think that he's going to be ready for opening day. I wouldn't be surprised to see him miss the first game or two.
That's not good news. I mean, that's the last thing this defense needs. I mean, with Devin White looking good so far in this training camp and Lavonte David, obviously both guys really seem to be, really comfortable in this 3-4 revamp Bucs defense. We'll see what happens there. But man, if you're Jason Light, you got to wonder, what the heck is going on with these injuries? All right, let's talk Vita Vea in just a second. I want to go back to Jameis Winston, though. Peter King gets great access, had a chance to go one-on-one with the Bucs quarterback. And I wanted to get to a couple topics. I want to get Roy's take. First, how can Jameis Winston get better? We kind of know the answer to that, but here was Jameis' take on that with Peter King.
It's doing my job. They will see me doing my job, and that's being a quarterback, that's being a game manager when I need to, that's being a playmaker when I need to, that's checking the ball down when I need to, and that's cutting out losses and throwing the ball away when I need to.
That's really part of it, isn't it?
It is.
Because that's one of those things that over time you so much have wanted to make plays that you've made throws that you say, man, what did I make that throw for?
Yeah, I think it's just a part of learning the game, understanding that a throwaway is okay. If a defense gets you on a play, that's okay.
Jameis Winston, it's really put up or shut up time. He's got the coach who believes in him. You get Deshaun Jackson out of the huddle. You still got a lot of weapons. I know the offensive line and the running backs still have a load of question marks, Roy. But if you're Jameis Winston, I think you could replay the Jameis Winston sound that we're hearing there the last couple years, and it would sound very similar. Is he going to be better this year in terms of making decisions? Is it finally going to click?
Well, it's going to have to, I think. And you know what? I think it will. Look, Jameis Winston is he's looking at a crossroads in his career. I'll disagree with one thing you just said. You say that he's got a coach who believes in him. I don't think he's ever not had a coach who believes in him. Going back to Florida State, But when he
You
came
don't think Dirk Cutter did not believe in him last year, though, a little bit?
No, I think he absolutely did. I think he had, but Dirk Cutter's job was on the line, and he couldn't afford to just throw a guy out there who wasn't performing at the level he needs to play at. He had to go with the hotter hand, and if that meant Fitzpatrick, you go with Ryan Fitzpatrick because you're trying to save a job. So that's the situation there. But Lovie Smith believed in him. Dirk Cutter believed in him. Certainly, Bruce Arians believes in him. But what you heard Jameis Winston saying there in that clip where he's talking to Peter King, everything that he's saying comes down to one simple phrase: decision making. That's where Jameis Winston has to be better in decision making. He's got to stop thinking that everything is on my shoulders. And the best way for that to happen, the best way to take him out of that mode where he believes this is all on me, and if I don't perform at a level beyond my talent, we're going to lose, is to be better around him. So I think Jameis Winston has always known that he needs to make better decisions in difficult times. But I think the key to him making those decisions, those better decisions, is actually having better situations, not being down by 17 points, not having to rally the team in the fourth quarter after the defense let a lead get slip away again, not having to make up for the field goal that was missed by the kicker, a 30-yard or the extra point, whatever it is. Jameis Winston has always felt that when those things happen, and they've happened consistently throughout his tenure here with the Buccaneers, it's on him to fix it and bring the team back. It's like that with most quarterbacks, but he needs help. He needs a running game that can pound it and still get yards and put you in position to produce points in a fourth quarter when the game is close. A defense that can hold on to a lead, a kicker that can make the kicks that every other kicker in the NFL can make. If he has those three things, I think you'll automatically see his decision-making get better just naturally and based on the fact that, hey, we're up by 8 points right here. I don't have to try to throw this thing down the middle. That guy's not open. That's a double coverage. Forget it. I'll check it down or, throw it high and away on the sidelines instead of having to try to thread the needle. I just think that will happen automatically because Jameis Winston has always been a very smart quarterback, very savvy in terms of the situation he's in. Unfortunately, the situation he's always in is behind by a bunch.
Oh, F. Lee Bailey, man. You could really defend almost anybody, Roy Cummings. I love you to death. I love you to death, man.
Bud.
His decision-making is horrible, my friend. Now, you can say Jimbo Fisher defended him, no doubt about it. Lovie Smith did. But Dirk Cutter did not want him to be his quarterback multiple times last year. And when he reported after not making good decisions off the field, he said, Jameis is going to have to learn to, quote, lead from the rear. And it's been also projected that he wanted Mariota, not Jameis Winston, when they were drafting him. I don't think Dirk Cutter wanted Jameis Winston. He knew that guy was probably going to prevent him from being a head coach. And look what happened. That's what happened. I know the defense was a big part of that. I know the offensive line. It's not just Jameis, but I don't think Dirk Cutter believed in Jameis Winston.
All right. Well, hold on. I can't let you stop there. I can't let you finish there. All right. Okay. Here's the situation. Last year, by the way, yes, you're right. He benched Jameis Winston, but then he realized, you know what? At the end of the day, Jameis Winston is still my best quarterback. I'm either going to make it or not make it with this team with Jameis Winston at that position. And yes, you're right that leading up to the draft, Dirk Cutter was more a fan of Marcus Mariota than he was Jameis Winston. Then he got Jameis Winston into the building, and he got him in the lab. And then he realized, oh, you know what? I was wrong. And he said that. He said that he came out and said the better quarterback is Jameis Winston. It's just a matter of, him refining the talent. And that's where coaching comes in. You've got to refine the talent. So I still think that the coaching has had something to do with the fact that Jameis Winston has not met the expectations everybody wants. And, oh, by the way, those 4,000 yards he throws for every year, you just don't see too many quarterbacks doing that. But he does it.
You see almost every quarterback do that.
Not rookies, because no other rookie's done it 3 years in a row that I know of.
Do you think Dirk Cutter believed in Jameis Winston when he played against Cincinnati and threw, I don't know, what was it, 6 picks or 5 picks? I don't think he believed in him last year, Roy. I don't think the organization, I think they lost faith in him. I think the whole Uber thing, and then he lied about it, and they didn't play well. I just don't think they had any faith. And I see, and a lot of people.
I'll still take Jameis Winston over Marcus Mariota, and I'll take Jameis Winston over a lot of other young quarterbacks. I mean, he still. I'll tell you what, nobody's complaining when he throws that thing 40 yards down the field and Mike Evans is waiting for it. Nobody complains. Look,
I'll complain when Deshaun Jackson's wide open. He can't hit him. I'll complain there.
I'm with Bruce Arians on this. You put a better team around him and have a running game that can execute and a kicker that can kick, and he'll be a better quarterback automatically.
I'll be the first one to give him his due when he plays well. But until then, and I'm with you on the offensive line and the running game, I'm frankly surprised unless Rojo, steps up this year and the offensive line dramatically improves, they failed Jameis Winston in both those areas. But if those areas do improve and Jameis Winston keeps making bad decisions, then I don't know what this franchise does at that point, because Bruce Arians came in large part to turn Jameis Winston around. If he doesn't progress, what do you do if you're Bruce Arians and the Bucs?
Well, you and I can agree on that point, because I'm with you 100%. Jameis Winston has backed himself into a corner with his play, decision-making off the field, decision-making on the field. There's no question. He has not played up to the expectations. He's done a lot of things that few other quarterbacks have ever done in this league. He's really no worse in his 4th year in the NFL or through 4 years in the NFL than a lot of great quarterbacks in the NFL. Look at the numbers. But I'm with you. He is at a crossroads in his career, and if he gets the running game and he gets the defense and he gets the kicker and he's still Jameis Winston as we know him, throwing far too many interceptions and making ridiculously stupid decisions in key moments in the game, I'm with you. Then the Bucs have to decide, do we fish or cut bait here and move on? And I won't argue with their decision if he continues, because this is on Jameis now. He knows. He in essence, and I think you're right. The Bucs are classic. They've done this with so many players at wasting the talents. They did it with Gerald McCoy. They may be doing it with Jameis Winston right now. They've got to get better all around. And if they do, and he's still the Jameis Winston that disappoints more than he appreciate him, well, then he's gonna have to own the fact that this is on him, and he's going to move on because he just wasn't good enough.
Jameis does have this going for him, partner. If he just improves a little bit, he's fine, because he's got Bruce Arians in his corner, and he can blame some of the inadequacies of the offense. But if he takes a big step back, that is trouble in so many areas for the Bucs quarterback. All right, before we move on to Vita Vea and our more likely segment, I'm loving the spirited debate. It's just fun. Let's talk about Jameis Winston's future as a baseball player. Now, he played, obviously, growing up. He played at FSU. He always has said he'd love to be a closer in the major leagues. Now, Peter King asked him, are those dreams still possible? Here's what Jameis said.
Well, I think anything is possible, given just every situation is different. But it's definitely challenging. But I commend players like Russell Wilson and even Kyler for taking that extra step of playing a little baseball here. But it's one of my dreams. It's something I definitely would look forward to. But right now, man, I got to focus on being the best quarterback I can be, so I can handle things on this side.
He didn't shut the door, Roy. The door was not shut on that question.
Nor should it be, because let's say he takes that big step back that you mentioned. And I don't know. he may have a better opportunity to go play baseball than he would football.
Right.
Hey, I don't think he should. It's clear that he loves the game of baseball, and as a kid always dreamed of maybe, like a lot of us, making it to the big leagues, being in the World Series, throwing the last out, in a big game, something like that, being a closer. That's what he likes to do. He was damn good in college. He's got a major league arm. Why not dream that? The opportunity may be there at some point for him. So he shouldn't close the door, because we never know what the future holds. It's very possible that like I said, if he takes that step back and the Bucs move on and nobody else really wants to, give him much of a chance as an NFL quarterback, and some team like, who knows? Look, what the Mets did with Tim Tebow could happen again. If he becomes the next Tim Tebow, so to speak, a guy who had a shot at the NFL and basically proved through his play that he's just not quite good enough, why not go? I think he'll get to the big leagues faster than Tebow will. And I don't think Tebow's going to get there except for a cup of coffee just to bring some fans into it for a while.
I give Tim Tebow a ton of credit. I really do. People like to hate on Tim Tebow. Why is he playing baseball? Tim Tebow didn't have to play baseball. I give him a ton of credit for playing baseball. And the fact that he's hitting dingers in AAA, granted, he's not probably hitting his weight in AAA, and he may never make it to the major leagues. But the fact that he got that far, was an all-star at the AA level. All these people just hate, like the Tom Brady haters, man. They're just all jealous. That's my little spiel today. All right, let's get to Vita Vea. We have Vita Vea exclusive one-on-one, our latest video wrap on pewterpirates.com. We're going to give one of these to you every week. We had Ronald Jones last week. Vita Vea obviously feeling a lot more comfortable in this 3-4 system he played at Washington. I had a chance to ask him the difference a year makes for him.
How much more comfortable are you now compared to this time last year?
I feel like I'm really, really comfortable, with everything having to do to, being here for over a year now, or a year now. Over a year now, yeah, over a year now. I had to think about that one. Getting to know Tampa, meeting everybody on the team, making friends and stuff like that. And then, also just knowing what to expect coming into the season, and picking up the playbook, and just learning off of what we did last year and how I performed last year, and just building off of that. So.
And Ndamukong Suh's on this team. I know you haven't been with him long, but what have you taken from his experience?
Shoot, I've taken a lot from him so far. Every day, like he shows you something new, and just the intelligence of playing football, and just try to pick his brain every day and see what he learned. He's a guy that of his resume, especially him playing in the Super Bowl last year, and also having guys like Bo, stuff like that. Other guys will, and the rest of the D linemen, just learn from all them. So it's really fun. You like a kid again. You make it up here, and just we drafted, or not drafted, we signed Suh, and just it's like, oh, that's Ndamukong Suh. So and then now we're playing right next to each other. He's teaching me everything, so it's pretty cool.
I really like talking to Vita Vea. He turns it on when he gets in the trenches because he's such a laid-back guy outside the lines. And I love also, if you check out our video wrap, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but then he puts the helmet on top of his head. Cummings, it made me feel like back in my Lightning days when I was interviewing Rick Nash on skates. I made him look like he was 8'3". But Vita Vea was, I think to me, the way he played in the second half of the year, and that wasn't the 3-4, boy, he's gonna be an interesting guy to watch now.
Yeah, he really is. And I'll tell you what I like. It's funny how things work out for players sometimes. I still think the Buccaneers are a better team with Gerald McCoy than Ndamukong Suh. But, good for Vita Vea that he got to spend a year learning from Gerald McCoy, and now he's next to Ndamukong Suh. Not too many players can say that they had the opportunity to play alongside those two guys and learn from two guys like that. By the way, he's also had a chance to learn from guys like Jason Pierre-Paul. So I think Vita Vea, and he's a perfect fit in this 3-4 scheme. I mean, he's exactly what you want in a nose tackle in the 3-4. To me, it's a perfect fit. It's almost like the Bucs had this in mind a year ago when they drafted him. It's almost like they had it in mind 2 years or 3 years ago now when they drafted Noah Spence. It's kind of funny how things are working out for a couple of guys, and one of those guys is Vita Vea. A lot of eyebrows raised when the Bucs decided to take him as their first-round pick, but you watch him in camp workouts. Obviously, last year he didn't get a chance to work out because he was hurt, but right now you look at him and you say, holy cow, he looks like a first-round pick.
No doubt about it. To me, the defense, boy, has so much potential. You just wonder, at every level, you have young players who have a chance to really make that jump. And if you're the Buccaneers, you really need all of them or most of them to make that jump. Well, speaking of making the jump, Justin, you know what time it is. More likely, baby. We pitch around 3 hypotheticals. And Roy, we had so much fun in that Jameis Winston debate. You know what I want to do in our next podcast?
What's that, Beth?
I'm going to get every starting quarterback in the NFL, and we're going to go mano a mano against Jameis Winston and see where he ranks. Okay? All right? Can we do that?
All right. That works.
We can eliminate the top. We can eliminate the top shelfers. The Bradys, the Breezes, the Russell Wilsons. There could be some close calls in there. I think that's what we have to do the next podcast.
It's all about this year, my friend. It's all about this year.
Right now, though, I don't even want to. Well, that's something to tease Pewter Pirates fans. Next week, we're going to do that. I just kind of thought of that. Roy Cummings and I are really good friends, and we really don't argue too much. But that may have been our biggest argument as friends in our history of being friends.
Well, it's not an argument as friends; it's just a disagreement over where we see the quarterback.
I send you a group hug right now.
Man, I love you, my pal.
Exactly. All right, first, more likely, Justin goes first because if we have Roy go first, he'll cheat off Roy's paper. Most likely to be the Bucs breakout star this year, and I know a rookie really can't be a breakout, but he kind of can be. So I'm gonna give you one on both sides of the ball. More likely to be your Bucco breakout star of the year, O.J. Howard or Devin White?
Oh, I mean, Devin White's really talented. Can I go with Ronald Jones? I really think he is
off the board.
Yeah, I think he really is gonna. It's all gonna click for him his second year. From what I've heard from training camp, he's been one of the standouts. He's come a long way. I think Roy's even talked about it. So yeah, can I jump off the board and go with Ronald Jones?
And more likely, you can always jump off the board. Always.
Yes.
Roy?
Yeah, I can't disagree with Justin. I'm not going to cheat off his paper, but I could see Ronald Jones having a breakout kind of season. I also could see Vernon Hargreaves. And this is all based on what I'm seeing.
I almost threw Hargreaves in there, Roy. I almost threw him in there.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a bad idea because I'll tell you what, I'm not sure there's been a practice yet in training camp where he hasn't made some kind of spectacular play on the ball, either an interception or a big pass breakup when you think the play's going the other way. He's really been sharp, so he's looked good. But I'm going to stick to the board because, guys, the other night, Saturday night's workout at One Buck Place, Devin White, and I am not exaggerating, he was in on every tackle in 11-on-11 drill at the end of the night. And I am not exaggerating. I mean every tackle. And not only and I'm not talking about some guy just coming up and tagging off, right? I'm talking about the first guy. He was putting guys down behind the line of scrimmage. He was chasing guys down across the other side of the field. He's knocking down passes. He was incredible. I mean, I hear the hype. Everybody said when he first came into the league, when he was drafted, that this guy should be a 5-time Pro Bowler. I get that. First round pick, 5th overall, probably should, right? I also heard some crazy hype. We've talked about this, Mike, about how some people think this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'll tell you what, based on what I've seen in this training camp, I don't necessarily argue with the people that think this guy's a Hall of Fame talent. This guy explodes onto the tape every time you watch it. He is an incredibly instinctive player. He has got some skill, gentlemen. So I'm going to go with Devin White.
You know what? Can you be my agent, Roy? I want you to be my agent.
I can do that for you. I really can, and I will charge less than the usual 3%.
Okay, excellent.
I'll keep it at 2.9 for you.
If you're in Roy Cummings' corner, man, he will he'll do what he just did. I mean, I wish I could have seen that. Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about Devin White. But here's the reason I pick O.J. Howard. I think O.J. Howard has a chance to be a revolutionary tight end, a revolutionary type player in the NFL with his skill set. I think when people think of the Bucs, they think of Jameis Winston, they think of Bruce Arians, they think of Devin White, they think of Ndamukong Suh. O.J. Howard is kind of lost a little bit. People forget how good this guy can be. I think they're going to use him right, and they're going to pull out all that untapped potential. We've seen it the last couple of years. When he has been given a chance, he's going to make some plays. I think O.J. Howard is going to be the star of this offense, guys. He's going to be the breakout guy on both sides of the ball. And people, he fell to the Bucs in the draft. That was, one of the great things that's happened to the Bucs. Not many great things the last couple of years, but O.J. Howard's definitely one of them. I think he's going to be one of those guys that are finally going to tap his potential, and Bruce Arians is going to bring it out of him. All right, second more likely. I don't know how you guys feel. One of the things I really enjoy about sports are Hall of Fame speeches. In baseball, really any sport, but especially football. And all these people on Twitter, how long is he going to talk? Just shut up. I want to hear these guys. I love hearing their stories. I love who they thank. I love the stories they tell. And this year's Hall of Fame class had great speeches. I really appreciate guys like Ed Reed, who just gets up there with no notes and speaks from the heart. I remember seeing Michael Irvin and Curtis Martin in person. Curtis Martin's speech, I was on the front row listening to that. This guy wasn't a football fan growing up. His mother was abused. I mean, all these stories and the journeys and how they get there, I think it's unbelievable. But I'm going to shift the focus a little bit more likely. More likely, guys, is there a Hall of Fame player that you never got to see that you wish you could have saw? It doesn't have to be in person. It could have been, even Justin's a little younger than us, so it could have been like in his prime on television or something. How about, is there one player for you, Justin? We didn't go over this. So is there a player that you kind of look back and say, hey, I wish I would have saw him play in his prime?
I think probably off the top of my head would be Barry Sanders. I mean, I was alive when he was playing, but I don't think I was following football. And obviously now going back and watching his highlights, it's insane. I wish I could have been there watching it as it happened. To see that kind of talent is very rare.
Yeah, Barry Sanders to me obviously would have been the all-time leading rusher if he hadn't retired so early, and Emmitt Smith even acknowledged that. So, yeah, to me, and also if Barry Sanders, I'd like to have seen him play behind that offensive line that Emmitt Smith had in Dallas. The numbers that he could have put up, I mean, it's like I saw to Emmitt Smith's credit, though, when I was at Florida, Emmitt Smith was all the Gators had. People forget how bad the Gators were when Emmitt Smith was there. They knew Emmitt Smith was going to get the ball every time, and he still was a great player, and he still put up Heisman numbers. So that just shows how great Emmitt was, too, not to take anything away from him. But, Roy, is there a player that you never really got to soak in his prime that you wish you could have?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago, and I watched, and, I certainly had an appreciation at the time for Dick Butkus with the Bears. The Bears were terrible. But for whatever reason, I guess I didn't have an appreciation at the time enough, even though I watched him play, for Gale Sayers. And some people tell me that Gale Sayers was, talent-wise, the greatest running back that ever played the game. And, I was too young at the time to really appreciate what I was seeing when he was playing. And I see my memory of him is more hurt than not, actually. And that's unfortunate because I would have liked to have had the opportunity, growing up in Chicago, right there in my backyard, to have appreciated Gale Sayers. I became a Packers fan more than a Bears fan because the Packers were great and the Bears stunk. So that probably had something to do with it. So it's on me a little bit because, I loved Elijah Pitts. I can appreciate that guy, but didn't appreciate Gale Sayers enough. And so that would probably be the guy. I'd love to be able to go back and kind of relive that period and instead of, dismissing Gale Sayers or not appreciating him, just, soak it all in and say, yeah, this is a great talent.
Yeah, I remember covering Reggie Bush his rookie year, and they compared him to Gale Sayers. I thought, boy, that's a lot of pressure. And it turned out that it was a lot. And Reggie Bush had a productive career, but he wasn't Gale Sayers. And I think he would even tell you to this day that was a lot to put on a guy who was supposed to save the Saints and tack Gale Sayers on there. I'd have to say Jim Brown for me. People still say, we talk about Barry Sanders, that he's the best running back of all time. And I just like to have seen him dominate those defenses. You see old clips and everything. But I'd really like to see Jim Brown in his prime, how he would play even against today's defenses. Because the way that the athletic ability that he had and the combination of power and speed, I think he would have been interesting to see not only today, but how he dominated defenses back in the day. All right, guys. Well, Hard Knocks is kicking off with our buddy John Gruden. And I'm going to ask kind of a two-tier question. more likely, could this be the best Hard Knocks ever? Because Gruden's going to bring it every episode, and he's TV savvy. He knows where the cameras are, so he's going to be great. And also, what was the best Hard Knocks entering this John Gruden camp before this? What do you think, Justin?
Well, actually, my answer kind of answers both questions. I do think with the potential personalities on this season of Hard Knocks, John Gruden, Antonio Brown, I am excited to see, and I do think this could be one of the best. But one of the best that I've seen, and I haven't seen them all, but one of the best that I remember in terms of personality was with the Jets when Ryan was the coach still there, and that was a great one. I remember laughing a lot on that. So I don't know. I definitely am excited, and I think potentially this could be the best one yet.
Roy?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question this has the potential to be the best one yet. I mean, this is exactly what Hard Knocks is looking for. I know that because I've been to training camp with John Gruden. And
yeah, you have. Yeah.
and I have seen things that will just make you shake your head, blow your mind, crack up. Think about it again and laugh even harder. He's a showman, man, and he's got moments where he's just so real and it's so funny to watch. I think it's a match made in heaven. And I'll agree with. Look, I guess I'm cheating off Justin's paper on this one, but I agree. The Jets. I haven't seen as many of these as most people because I'm usually working this stuff, so I haven't had a chance to really see a lot of them. But I do remember that we learned an awful lot about the Jets and their coach, Buddy Ryan, not Buddy Ryan, but Rex Ryan.
Sexy Rexy.
We learned an awful lot about him, maybe more than we wanted to know with the Jets Hard Knocks. So I think that was probably the most interesting because you found out a lot of stuff that we probably didn't want to know, but it's interesting that we know it now.
Well, this is unanimous because when I thought about this question and I thought about how good John Gruden's going to be, Rex Ryan to me, yeah, but if you had a football fan who's under the age of 15, you don't let him. You allow him to watch maybe the Mike Smith Hard Knocks with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
but you don't let him watch the Rex Ryan Hard Knocks with the Jets. Right. And by the way, the Mike Smith Hard Knocks was the worst Hard Knocks.
It was the worst.
That was more vanilla than what Roy Cummings is going to have for dessert tonight after his dinner. That was awful. And I'll tell you this. You know how good John Gruden is? John Gruden is so good. He was the highlight of Dirk Cutter's Hard Knocks. His cameo appearances in The Office and stuff. His cameo appearances in, just getting the Ring of Honor. I mean, you get just a little dose of John Gruden, it's going to be good. So I think this one really has potential to be great. And I agree. Antonio Brown. And I mean, it's the Raiders, man. The Raiders, they're going to Vegas. You're going to have all these subplots. I think there's no doubt about it. But I'm really now looking forward to our next podcast the most because we're going to really break down Jameis Winston. Like no other, Roy Cummings.
Like no other.
Is it mono e mono or mono a mono?
I believe it's mono e mono.
I think it's E too. I just want to clarify that because you Pewter Pirates Nation, let us know if I messed that up or not. But a lot to look forward to. We're going to keep these video wraps every week going with exclusive interviews, and Roy and I break down the Bucs before and after. We'll keep the Few Extra Bucks podcast coming every Monday. We're going to carry that over the regular season as well. And check us out on all the platforms. We're on iTunes and Podbean and Stitcher and Spotify and Google Plus. And we're on, Twitter. Roy Cummings and I are both on Twitter too. So we'll tweet out the latest if you're not subscribing. But if you're not subscribing, why aren't you? Subscribe to pewterpirates.com. It's absolutely free. You'll get our video wraps. You'll get our links to the podcast as well. So we really appreciate our growing audience. And I appreciate Roy Cummings and I appreciate Justin Thomas. I'm merely Mike Nabors. And until next week, we appreciate you logging on and we'll talk to you soon.